Hello and welcome. This is part 2 of a series that I'm doing on how to teach kids self-empowerment concepts. This video is about how to teach kids self-acceptance or self-love, or how to love themselves. So if you're like me, you're a parent, possibly on a spiritual journey, learning self-development concepts, and while you're developing, going inward for some answers, it's tricky enough to navigate the world as you're learning these concepts, maybe awakening, and as you're going through that, if you're like me, you're wondering then, how do I explain these concepts to kids? It's not always easy to figure out what to say to your kids. So what I'm doing is sharing what I've learned. So years ago when I went through my awakening, a spiritual journey, I'm still going through it, of course, but when I was going through it and reading like hundreds of books and going to seminars and all those things, my kids were being bullied, and I was looking for resources on how to teach kids these concepts, and I never found anything. So what I had done back in the day, I created the resources I wish I found. So I took self-development and I mixed it with superheroes. And what I'm going to talk about today are the concepts from that, how I figured out how to teach kids in simple concepts that I'm going to give you so that you can use some of that language, some of the things I've learned, and some of the things that work really well to teach kids these concepts. You can put it in your own words and figure out your own way to teach your kids. So today we're talking about self-acceptance, self-love, or self-confidence. Just to let you know, not only did I teach my own kids, but I wrote a book, Super Spark, so I put it in an illustrated children's book, and then I did school presentations based on that book, and I would go teach hundreds of kids at a time. So I've taught this to thousands of kids, and I've seen their response in the groups, and they often come talk to me after. So just so you know that this isn't just stuff I made up that I don't know if it works really well. So I just want to let you know why I know these things, and I've been working on these things for years. So the first thing I teach, it depends on the age too, so you have to adjust. Like I've taught as young as grade 2 these concepts, and then all the way into high school, and in the high school they're up until grade 12. So I adjust my language. But basically, I let them know why it's so important, like what does it matter, what I think of myself. And I let them know that self-acceptance is actually like a house and a foundation. So if you're looking at the foundation, if the house is built on a crickety, unstable foundation, it's the entire integrity of the house. And what I mean by that is, whatever you think of yourself is sort of the life you're building. And how I explain it to kids is, what you think about yourself is, again, depending on the age, you adjust. It's the friends you're going to attract. Later on, it's the partner you're going to attract, girlfriend, boyfriend, or whoever. It's the job you're going to attract, how much money you're going to make. It's whatever you think of yourself is going to reflect back in all of the things. So it's really important to work on that foundation, to work on yourself and have self-love and self-acceptance. So that's where I start first. The other thing I talk about is I take them back to remember. So this is what happens with kids. What I think, they're born confident. They're born knowing who they are. I think they're born into knowing their greatness. And the older they are, the more they move away from that. So the younger they are, they're still connected and they still have that confidence and they think they can do anything. And the older they are, especially as you get into middle school and high school, they come further and further away from that. So as the kids get older, they actually need this more and more. I often talk to kids, it's like, think about when you were little, like really little, if you have any memories, or if you observe a toddler now. They think they can do anything. Like, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to save all the animals in the world. They have a attitude that they like whatever. They don't dress like they are matching. They wear whatever. They might go out wearing a robot suit, and they just they don't care, and they express themselves, and that's who they are. Then what happens, I talk about school, because that's where everybody can relate. Doesn't matter their grade. when you talk about going to school, then you can talk about where they start comparing themselves. So it starts at school. So this is where they start to relate. So if they're young, I'll say, for girls, you're looking at other girls or what they look like, or long hair, curly hair, blonde hair, brown hair, wishing that you had that hair, wishing that you had an outfit that they had, wishing you had the shoes that they had or the color that they had. Then when you start going and they're older and you're getting grades, there's always a smarter kid. I don't like the school system at all for what it does to our kids, but that's the school system they're in, especially if they're in the public school system. It's pretty brutal. So grades, you are your grade, and in school, the teachers start to treat you like those grades. If you kids aren't sporty and they're trying to make a sports team, it can really go after your self-confidence. So in school, there's comparison. There's always the faster kid, more athletic kid, the pretty kid. If it's in high school, cheerleader, the whatever. And that's where the comparison starts on a whole bunch of things. And that's where it erodes the self-confidence. So you use examples of what they might see in school. And basically the words I use at any age is then you get the feeling of feeling worse about yourself because you're comparing to somebody else. And then the underlying problem that we all have in adulthood really is the feeling of I am not enough. That I am not enough starts when they're kids. So if you can get the concept to them about self-acceptance now when they're little, or even if you catch them at teens, they won't be like us. I don't know about you, but like I started my journey at 35 looking into all these things and learning about self-acceptance and, positive thinking and kindness and all of those things a little bit later. But if you can get kids to start looking at this and asking themselves questions and giving them the proper foundation, you'll really help them on their journey. So basically when you talk about comparison and that feeling of I am not enough, that's when I go into you didn't come here to copy others. Society will want you to blend, to mix, to do whatever the other people are doing, to blend. Don't be so loud, don't be so bright, to really blend in. But that's not why you came here. You came here to express who you are, your unique self, right? So if you think about it, then you want to talk about in the 8 billion people in the world, I let them know like you're the only one that's like you, that talks like you, walks like you, expresses like you, that's goofy like you, that's intellectual like you, that's nerdy like you, that puts clothes together like you, that expresses themselves like you, that sings like you, that has a way of understanding, interpreting the world just like you, right? And it's on purpose, and that your expression of how you see the world, how you're in the world matters, and that you're supposed to express yourself. And that's the whole point. You were born with certain gifts, certain talents that aren't supposed to match other people. The other thing I use that really illustrates this point, again, adjust your language depending on the ages, but it works well, is you compare people to an orchestra. So if they're really little, I explain what an orchestra is. It's a bunch of instruments. Sometimes there are a couple hundred. And there's people with trumpets, clarinets, violins, all the sections, and they're all together and they play a beautiful piece of music. Well, the way society wants us to be is they all want us to be, you pick an instrument like a clarinet doing the same note and we're all the same. But what makes an orchestra rich and beautiful is that every instrument, a couple hundred, are individually making beautiful sounds that together make a rich sound. And how boring would it be if it was all, 200 clarinets or trumpets or whatever instrument they know doing the same note, right? It would be a pretty boring concert. What makes life rich and amazing is how different everybody is and to not blend with other people. And that it's a superpower, I think, to express yourself, because anytime you express yourself, you're going to maybe take some flack. So the fact that if you have a kid that's expressing themselves, it's like, wow, what bravery, what a superhero you are to express yourself, to wear what you want to wear, to have that hobby that's really different than other people and keep doing it no matter what other people say. So these are the things that I use that give them visualizations. Here's the other thing that works really well when you're talking about how you treat yourself, self-acceptance. It's really, if you think about it, it's the thoughts that you have in your mind. So you tell kids, like, how do you talk to yourself? What are the thoughts that you have inside your head? And for kids, and even in high school and teenagers, they respond to this well. I call it an inner roommate. This is the concept. This is what I tell them. I said, pretend that those voices in your head are coming from a real person. Name the person, Fred, Shirley, Linda, like whatever. Make them real and get them to tell you those things. Like you're looking at that person and they're telling you those things. And you would be surprised, sometimes kids are like, oh, you stupid, you're not good at math, you don't know what you're doing, you're ugly, you have terrible hair, you're not good at sports, you're not going to make the team, or whatever. And then you talk to them and say, would you ever let anybody talk to you like that? And they're like, no, that's not nice, or that's mean. To say, okay. So it's just like you wouldn't have that person tell you those things. It's also important that you don't talk to yourself like that. So just like the other video was about kindness and teaching kids how to be kind, we're teaching kids how to be kind to themselves and to adjust what they're saying and thinking to themselves, right? And I do have a channel. My other channel is just my name, Josée Lindsay. I'll put a link down below. I actually created a meditation specifically for kids, specifically for self-acceptance. I think it's almost got 20,000 views, and I've gotten a lot of comments on that one. Even social workers, psychologists, and kids directly messaging me saying how much these have helped them. So you can watch it yourself and just get the language of how I talk to kids, and then you can get your kids to watch it directly. When they go to that channel, it's safe. There's only stuff for kids and teens there. There's only, I think, 9 videos. And it's meditations and videos directly for kids. They will never find anything that they're not supposed to watch there. So I will put a link below. That's a free tool that you can also use. Basically, where I'm going with, being a superhero is that you have a light within. So in the last video, we're like, you have a light within and your job is to spread it and be kind. Well, the light within, before that you can be kind to other people, you have to accept yourself. If you don't accept yourself and don't love yourself, you don't have anything to give to others. So the light, you have to create the light before you can spread it. And creating the light comes from self-acceptance and self-love. Making that light from within. Teach that the highest, truest form of self-love, self-acceptance is from within. We're always wanting other people to accept us. For friends and even family, just that hoping that other people accept us the way that we are. But that doesn't always happen. So if kids can learn that the highest level of acceptance is self-acceptance, and in their life, if they always have kind thoughts and are loving to themselves, that's the best relationship they will ever have. And then they're building that foundation and having a strong house and building that life. So that's why it's really important to talk about self-love, loving yourself. And in that meditation, I do walk them through affirmations. When you just tell a kid to say, just tell yourself you love yourself and look in the mirror and say, I love you. You can do that, but it's harder. That's why I did a guided meditation, because of the music, and they get in a relaxed state and they're hearing it from me. It sort of goes like right in the subconscious. So even the kids that feel really bad about themselves, they can just listen to it. And I have statements, I'm going to read it here because I can't remember. I have statements in there, affirmations like, I love and accept myself just the way I am. So I get them to repeat that. That's helpful. I choose to feel good about myself. I am worthy. Things like that. So I get them to repeat after me. And then it's always important that just like you're on your journey, this is a journey. I always tell kids to be easy about this, be easy on themselves about it. To be kind to themselves and love themselves is a process. And that's the most important thing that they will ever learn. This is a part 3 of, I'm calling it the Heartful Kids series. Part 1, I talk about teaching kids kindness. This one is about self-acceptance. And the third one is going to be teaching positive thinking, how their mind is like a garden. I've taught kids self-development concepts. I've taught adults. And this is the series where I'm teaching adults how to teach kids self-development. So I'm putting the two together. So hopefully that was helpful. I had done a video for adults on this channel about loving yourself. That's a good one to watch for yourself before you teach your kids. So I'll put the link below. That's for you. And then there's a resource for your kids that you can watch and show your kids. All of it is for free. All of it is YouTube videos. I take no emails here. I almost forgot. Before we go, I just want to show you the one page of Super Spark. I went through the book quickly in the last one about kindness, but this is the page that I actually have a video as well where I read this page to kids and I explain a little bit about self-love. But I just wanted to show you because I'm talking about kind to your reflection in the mirror. So I'll just read a couple of lines because this is when you're talking to little kids and there's imagery that really, really, really helps. Okay? So I say, be kind to your reflection in the mirror. You were created perfect as you are, a superhero in your own right, with a future that is very bright. Beautiful and powerful inside and out, just full of potential waiting to come out. This is where I'm talking about comparison. And I brought in the animals so it would be easier for kids to see. Don't compare yourself to someone else, wishing to be something different than yourself. Look at the animal kingdom, for they have great wisdom. Does an elephant dream of jumping like a frog? Or does a monkey wish he could bark like a dog? No. Every creature is special and interesting. Be confident and do your own thing. So this is how I explain it to kids, and every page in the book is a different concept. There's links to Super Spark as well. I think it's $7.99 Canadian or something like that for an ebook. And there's different concepts. Each page is a self-development concept. So that's what I was talking about, that I had created resources for kids. So I wanted to share that before we go. Basically, that's it. I hope all these resources are helpful to you, whether you're a parent, grandparent, caretaker, you're on your journey of inner growth, just like I am. It really never ends and we're always learning. But having resources to teach your kids is always really helpful. So hopefully that helped you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Namaste. Much love.